So just whenever you're ready.
So, how far back shall I go from coming to Krishna consciousness? Or just
when did you meet Srila Prabhupada?
1972. I came to America in 1970, April, and I first saw the devotees on the streets in New York City, 41st Street. I was working on 6th Avenue and 40th Street, and I saw them on the streets chanting, and I had no experience of anything like them. I didn't know what to make of them. I didn't even think they were religious. Seriously, because my experience, my background of religious was Catholic. So they were quite odd with their orange robes and the shaved heads and sikas and the marks and the tilak. So I was quite, I was struck with wonder, wondering who were they and where were they from? And there was no one like them. But I have to admit, I was very attracted to the sound of the kirtan. They were chanting, and I found that very, very, pleasing. I was attracted to it. And every time I would see them after that, if I was on one side of the street and they were on the other side, I would go over. So I'd get closer to it and absorb it, still without knowing what they were. And every time one devotee would come through the crowds, because crowds would gather around. It was like still a novelty in New York City. Crowds would gather around, and the devotees would pass out invitation cards, like business cards, which had the mantra on it, and on the other side they would invite you to the love feast. So seeing that a love feast, I thought, oh, maybe there's some kind of avant-garde hippie group, love feast, we just came out of the 60s, and as I say, coming from Trinidad, you never saw anything like that. But they invited me, and after many invitations, because whenever I would see them, they would offer a card, and I would accept the card, and I accumulated a few cards before I was brave enough to go to the temple. But I didn't go for a Sunday feast. I went on a Monday. I think I had a day off, so I went. And of course, who I saw on the streets was just half a dozen people, maybe 5 or 6. I thought that's all they were. I didn't know that there's a whole movement, and they're all over the place. They're all around the world. So when I went to the temple in Brooklyn, and saw that there was, gosh, there must have been 60 or 100 of them living there. So that was an eye-opener. And then finding out that they're all over. They're in England, they're in Australia, they're in this place, they're in that place. But I liked them, and I made, they were the first friends that I made in America, in New York. As I said, I had only just arrived. So I liked being around them, and I would go. I became a regular coming on Sunday. And then one Sunday without reading anything. When I went, they said Prabhupada was coming. So I thought, ooh, I'll finally get to hear and see this person who they all express so much love and allegiance to. So Prabhupada came and he give the Sunday feast lecture. And after that, that did it for me. I thought I have to follow him. And so took me a few months to wind up my affairs. Give everybody notice, and I moved in the temple. And I liked the chanting very much, and they immediately sent me out on Harinam as a bhakta. And one day the party leader, that same, 5 or 6 of us, the party leader was I think he was probably the only one initiated, or the rest of us weren't. But he wanted to go use the restroom in the subway, so he turned around and he asked me to lead. And I was like, me? I didn't think that I could do it. But he was confident. He said, no, I've been hearing you in the back, behind, And he said, you can do it. So he gave me the drum and he left. I didn't even know how to play the drum. But I could keep time. I could keep time. And so I just began singing one of the melodies that, there were just a few melodies that the devotees would sing, and you get familiar with them. So I just choose one of those and started chanting. And all the other devotees responded, and we got absorbed. By then we were used to doing it because we would go out from morning, from 9 until 6 in the evening every day. So when you have to, you're going to be there for so many hours, you might as well surrender to it and get into it. Get absorbed, close your eyes and chant. And when he came back, the party leader, he came back after about half an hour. And I was ready to give it back to him. But he said, no, you keep going. And he just let me chant for the rest of the day. And when he got back to the temple, he began telling some of the leaders that we have a kirtan man here. I didn't know that he was doing that, but the next morning for Mangal Arati, when I went in the temple, one of the leaders in the temple approached me and said, I heard that you were quite a kirtan. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. So he said, well, we want to hear you. So he said, you're going to lead Mangal Arati. And I knew, I said, I don't even know this song, the Guru Vastakam. I hadn't even learned it yet. He said, somebody can hold a sheet for you. I said, I don't even know how to play the mridanga. He said, I'll play mridanga. So I could see he really wanted me to do it. So I said, all right. And he said, oh, the next thing is, when this was before the curtains opened for the deities. It says, when the curtains open and everyone kneels down to offer their obeisances, he says, you don't do it. You just start singing. I said, aren't we supposed to? He said, yeah, but you don't do it. Because if you don't do it, somebody else will start singing. So I followed his instructions and I began, as soon as they hit, I started singing. and it was to the rest of the devotees who were in the temple. They didn't know. They could, when I started singing, all the heads turned because it was a new voice. But they seemed to. I just wanted to see who it was, and I led Mangalarti, and that was the beginning of my career as a kirtan leader, which was, fine by me. I liked chanting, and I always chanted with a mood as a service. I wasn't chanting for fame, but fame came. Some fame came, and to me, chanting is like a feeling. You have to. It's a feeling that you develop, a feeling of gratitude and appreciation for what you're getting, what Prabhupada is giving us. And so always when I begin to chant, I always kind of center myself on that mood of the servant. And devotees around the world have always appreciated and expressed. And now coming to Mayapur, I hadn't been here in 30 years. So a lot has happened. A lot has happened. But it's all wonderful. It's amazing. It's overwhelming to me, seeing how much has been done. You can tell, you can see it. Oh, a city is on the way. Even if like today I went to Navadvip and coming back on the boat, you can see all these buildings from the Ganga, and it looks like a city. So, but it feels nice. It feels like home. It's really nice. And I don't know what kept me away all these years. I guess, but I'm glad to be allowed back, and I'm having a good time. So, what else can I say?
And now your service is temple president?
Oh yes, that's another milestone in that I came to America in 1970 and I didn't go back for many years.
To your home?
Yeah, because joining Prabhupada's movement, that became my home, and so I stayed in America. And it wasn't until maybe about 5 years ago I went back to Trinidad for the first time. I went back you know how your mind works, I had stored images of Trinidad in my mind of the way I left it. And when I went back, it had all changed after so many years. I think it was like 34 years I'd been away. So it seemed like a new place, unrecognizable. But I began going every year after. The devotees there were kind enough to invite me to come for Rath Yatra festival. And they have like 3 Rath Yatras in that little island. So I'd usually go for about 10 days, and I was able to attend 2. And doing that consecutively for 4 years, I began to develop a feeling, for the place. And so 10 months ago, I decided to relocate, go back to Trinidad. And I was offered the service of being temple president, which I accepted. And it has its challenges because it's different to what I knew, and it's different to America, a lot different. So I'm having to adjust, but there are nice devotees there, and hopefully we can make it better. So I'm the only one that came from Trinidad this festival this year. I'm sure next year I won't be the only one that will come. When I tell them all the wonderful things and show them something. Yeah, that'll help. All right? So thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.